So, my 40 sister, Sophie, 26, and her husband, Ben, 28, have been trying for a kid recently, and about 3 months ago, my sister confirmed to the family that she was pregnant. I also have 2 kids. My son, Max, 17, and my daughter Amelia, 11. Max is gay, which I have to point out because it's pertinent to the incident, and he is currently dating another boy named Charlie. If I'm being honest, I don't completely understand everything about his sexuality, but I support him unconditionally, and I try my best to keep an open mind and listen to his problems. I can tell he is happy with Charlie, and they often hang out at the house together watching movies or playing games. As long as they're being safe and responsible, I frankly don't mind what they do, and really I've gotten to know Charlie pretty well with how often he's over here. I don't think he's out to his parents yet, so the boys will usually come here after school. Okay, now onto the problem. So my sister and her husband recently got evicted from their apartment, and they didn't have a place to stay. We've never been close, so I suggested she try our parents first, but she was adamant that she stay at my house, since we have a guest room, and if they stayed at her parents then they'd have to sleep on the couch. I gave in, of course, because I'd feel terrible if I didn't, and we agreed that she and her husband could stay here to find a house and get their life together. About 2 months in, and I'm honestly surprised she didn't find out earlier, since they weren't being subtle about it, Sophie saw Charlie and Max kiss in the living room while she was in the kitchen with her husband and immediately gave me this disapproving glare. She had never acted overtly homophobic to anyone, so I was surprised when she went full-on freak out. She said something along the lines of, "Why are you letting them do that?" and went on that stereotypical boys are for girls, etc., and basically being super hateful and mean. My son really likes Sophie, and I could tell what she was saying really hurt him. Here is where I may be the idiot. I got pissed and told her she had the rest of the day to pack her crap and get out of my house. They left to stay with a friend of Sophie's, but now I'm getting phone calls and texts telling me that I'm heartless, that she was pregnant, who could I, etc. Should I have just let her stay? I honestly don't know what to do, but Max looks absolutely heartbroken right now. I don't think he was expecting her to act like that. Am I the idiot? Absolutely not the idiot. What your sister was saying was hurtful, hateful, and psychologically damaging to your son. And her continued presence in your home would have been a constant source of psychological abuse. Would you be second-guessing yourself if your sister was physically abusing your son? I don't think so. And this is no different. You absolutely did the right thing. You protected your son. Don't ever doubt it. And not for nothing, but she's an adult. You are not responsible for her. If she and her partner can't care for themselves, that's not on you. It's unbelievable that anyone is giving you grief over this. Your duty is to Max before any duty to your sister or her unborn baby arises. Raising Max around Sophie's hateful attitude would be toxic to Max's well-being and self-esteem. Also, and I know this is beside the point, people often get evicted because they can't pay the rent or they have other stability issues. Why are they trying to have a baby when they're clearly in an unstable situation? Anyway, not the idiot. Good for you for supporting your son. You don't have to understand his situation 100%, but you are respecting it. Ultimately, it's your house and your family. You have the right to decide who stays with you. You offered a home for your sister even though you're not that close. She should be grateful and show respect for the way you and your family live your life, especially under your own roof. None of you are harming anyone. It'd be interesting to know more about the conversation you had with your sister and how long it was between that and you sending her away. A little notice might have been more generous, but then who wants that kind of hate in their house for any amount of time? Would that notice have been bearable? My husband was in an accident and is on temporary bed rest while he heals from surgery. The accident happened where my in-laws live, so we haven't been able to fly home. Their house is huge, and they already had a buzzer system from back when his late grandfather was sick, so my mother-in-law suggested my husband use it to let us know if he needs something. Well, my husband has, to everybody's surprise, been a nightmare patient. He uses the buzzer non-stop, usually to get my attention. Whoever hears it first will drop everything and go running to him, and he would almost 90% of the time ask them if they could ask me to come to the room. He normally never has a serious request besides wanting me to sit with him, which is fine sometimes, but we also have a toddler who I need to take care of, so I ask him repeatedly if he could tone it down. He only got worse after that, to the point where the buzzer was going off every 15 minutes because I wasn't coming quick enough. I finally took the buzzer away from him yesterday after I was trying to put our toddler down for a nap and he kept buzzing and buzzing. My husband is obviously angry at me and accused me of leaving him helpless. I reminded him that he has a phone and he could text me if he needed something serious. He said that wasn't the same since I always forget my phone and he might need someone else. Everyone else is divided. I think some people are secretly relieved, but my mother-in-law especially wants me to give it back to him because she's worried he might try to get things himself and hurt himself if he can't reach us with a buzzer. Am I the idiot? Being incapacitated is really bad. But your husband is clearly misusing and abusing his buzzer privileges. He is not helpless, he's choosing to be helpless. Bed rest doesn't mean he can't do anything for himself. If he's bored, ask him what you can add to his environment that will help. Anything that isn't you, basically something that's more reasonable than constantly being on the buzzer. If he's just seeking your company, remind him that you can't sit with him all day long. I would also point out the fact that his incessant ringing doesn't get you to go to him any faster. If he gets his buzzer privileges back, negotiate some buzzer use boundaries with him. No idiots here. According to the OP's comments, he had a head injury and has now shown a change in behavior. This should be investigated, probably by a specialist. It may be a contributing factor. The OP isn't wrong to try to help the toddler, nor is she wrong to feel overwhelmed in this situation. So she's not an idiot. Part of toxic masculinity is craping on men who display any sort of emotion or pain. Some of the comments here seem to fit into that category. The guy had a huge accident, is now bedridden, and has had a head injury as part of it. I'm not sure why he's hitting the buzzer so much, but if the mom is worried he's going to hurt himself, I agree that she's agreed to watch him more. Needing support, asking for support, even if it's too much in this situation, isn't an idiot move either. No idiots here. You deserve to be left alone, and while your husband is being a major pain, he kinda is allowed to be. He's bedridden and has a concussion to top it off. He can't even use his own head properly. His behavior issues aren't okay, but I understand why he's doing it. You're allowed to be cranky just as much as he is. You need to sit down and talk like adults. The only major issue I see here is lack of communication, which neither of you are really at fault for. Have you considered just taking your toddler home with you and letting him heal with his mom and family for a bit? It's probably really shame for him not being able to do stuff, but obviously you have responsibilities outside of his needs. I work as a security guard. I was scheduled to start working at this new store today, starting from 10 a.m., which I guess is when the store opens. I get there at exactly 10 a.m. and ask to place my belongings in the back room. I was in the room for a few minutes max and then came back out to man the door. However, in that time I guess many customers had already come in and one of the sales staff had to play security. On my lunch break, the manager of the store approached me and asked if next time I could come to a little bit earlier next time so that by the time I put all my belongings down I can be in front of the store at 10 a.m. I told her no, that if I'm rostered to start at 10 a.m. then I will show up at 10 a.m. and that if they want me to come earlier then the store would have to arrange that with the security company. I'm not getting paid to come earlier, so I really don't see why I'm required to. She got huffy with me and said that the sales staff aren't trained to be security, and with the popularity of the store every morning there will be people lining up waiting to go inside, and that I needed to be here earlier because of that. She said that it really wasn't hard to come a few minutes earlier and that it wasn't fair to come just on time. I know it's not hard to come a little earlier, but I feel it's more about the principle. If you want someone to come earlier then make that clear through the hours. I told her such and she just sighed and walked away. We didn't talk for the rest of the day. So, am I the idiot for coming into work just on time? As far as I know, if they say your shift starts at 10, you have to start to work at 10. Putting your belongings somewhere else etc. is not work time. You can be there at point 10 and take your time to make some coffee etc. too. If you know that you will take 5 minutes to do things like that, you come earlier so that you can start your actual work when your shift starts. You are the idiot. When you are scheduled for a time, it means you are to be prepared to working at that time. If you are scheduled for 10 a.m. that means you come in 5-ish minutes early to put your belongings down, and then you are clocked in and working at 10 a.m. If she is wanting you to do security for the people lining up outside before the store opens, then that's different and she needs to talk to the company you're employed under, but as a rule of thumb when you are scheduled for a time you are expected to be working at that time. Not the idiot. And anyone saying so is an actual idiot. You're legally not obliged to punch until 10 a.m., as per your job states. As someone who did this with a bad company and ended up winning, because I was unionized, you legally don't. You punch in at 10 a.m., which means you enter the store at that time. You should have already been changed, and just use that time to put your stuff away like you said, taking off coat example. That's the reason why most companies take advantage of you. And as well, when I was a server, our manager tried to force us to come in 15 minutes early to prepare, no pay, but we threatened legal action, and he changed fast, and we started getting paid, but he had less people starting early. My 31 sister, 28, is disabled. She has seizures and other issues, and is still living with my parents. When I was 17, and she was 14, my parents got her a service dog. I hadn't really been around dogs very much before that, as where we live most people that have dogs have working dogs for hunting, herding, livestock, etc. that stay outside. The dog they got her, I believe, was a lab. When they got this dog, I found out that I had awful allergies. I could not be around this dog, or my nose and throat would just be scratchy. My parents got me medicine for it, but if I forgot to take it, it would be awful, sometimes so bad I would struggle to breathe, and the medicine isn't perfect and doesn't really completely work. I asked them to get rid of the dog. They were shocked and really upset at me for even suggesting this, and of course refused. So for the last year I lived with them. I spent as little time at their house as possible. Anyway, she has a new dog now, but it's of the same kind, and I have the same allergies to it. My wedding is coming up, and I invited them, however I made it clear to my parents that invitation was not extended to the dog. The wedding is inside, and I want to be able to breathe without taking medicine. They were really unhappy at this, my mother especially. She said my sister's seizures have been bad lately, and by making my sister go somewhere without the dog I could kill her. She said if the dog couldn't come, neither she nor my sister would be going. I was upset at this, especially since it's just for a day and people will be around if she has issues. My mother still insisted the dog go and said my sister would not be able to function without the dog. She still is asking constantly if I've changed my mind and is saying I'm being unreasonable and could just take medicine and be fine. Am I the idiot for not letting the dog go? No idiots here. If your medicine truly does not work, then it's reasonable to not want to be snotty and sneezing like mad on your wedding day. Now if it does work and you just don't like it, you move right to idiot territory. But on the flip side of it, you cannot be upset at your sister for not coming if her seizures have been escalating. Not having her dog to alert her can be extremely dangerous. You will be leaning more to the idiot side if you keep being mad at her for being unable to attend without her service dog. How far away is the wedding? Are there other allergy medicines or shots you can look into before then? It's your day and your choice, but then your sister won't be there and shouldn't be there. I think what you may not realize about her service dog is it's trained to sense seizures and her issues coming on before most people or even she would know that. So there could be a billion people around and that dog would still be the thing that saves her life. I understand you don't want the dog there and don't want to have to take medicine or even potentially be uncomfortable, but then she doesn't go. There are also ways to combat this. Ask her to sit at the end of a row, not to move around a lot, put her at a distance from you, ask her to take photos without the dog if that's a thing you want. As an allergy sufferer myself, I completely understand that choosing between having an allergic reaction because your meds don't work well enough or experiencing bad side effects from the meds that do work is like choosing between a hard and a hard place. And that's on any given day. Let alone your wedding day. However, your sister clearly needs the service dog. Like clearly. I don't think I should have to go any further into this point. So, I don't think either of you are the idiot. I, 25, went with a friend to watch the new 007 movie at a pretty popular theater. We booked our seats in advance via online, and our seats were M10 and M11, towards the back in the middle. We got there 10 minutes before the movie started and saw that there was a couple, 20s, sitting in our seats. I asked if the seats they were sitting were M10 and M11 and they might be sitting in our seats. The guy in the couple said this was N10 and N11. My friend and I were confused, so we asked the row in front of us to see what row that was. They said it was L. So if we go by the alphabet and the row letter was also on the carpet, the couple were not sitting in their seats. I asked a couple again nicely that they might be sitting in the wrong seat and the guy started to get really frustrated saying that these are just seats and that they even asked a worker here and mentioned that this was N10 and N11. This is where I might have been the idiot. My friend said let's grab a random seat, but I went outside the theater and grabbed a worker and explained the situation. The worker came up to the row with me but mentioned that there were still empty seats. I replied to him that people were still coming in, so I didn't want to take someone else's spot if the seats the couple were sitting was actually our spot. The couple saw us bringing a worker in and the guy came up to us and started to talk bad about me in front of the worker and how I'm blowing it out of proportion and said crude things about me. The worker went out and got another person, I assume the manager, to verify the seats. At this point the movie didn't start yet, but people that overheard us was also saying that these are just movie seats and that I should just sit anywhere else. Turns out the couple was wrong and those were our seats. The guy started to yell that he wanted a refund because the N10 and N11 seats are not in the middle. Any row after M only had seats on the left and right side and empty in the middle for accessibility reasons. He said that I ruined his freaking birthday and I told him okay and told the worker to give us a seat that's not taken and we'll sit somewhere else and he said no, it's too late and I ruined his birthday night. He stormed off and his girlfriend walked out and cursed at me that I ruined the guy's birthday. The movie began shortly after, so we didn't cause a scene during. However, I feel bad for things to escalate so much, but I didn't know where else to sit as it could have been reserved. Plus, it was his birthday. Should I have just let the couple have my seats? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And if my boyfriend made a stink like that when he was wrong, which wouldn't have happened because I take movie watching very seriously and would have known which seats were our correct seats, he would have been staging his walkout on his own and I would have stayed to enjoy the movie in my correct seat. You bought specific seats. They're your seats. It sounds like if he hadn't been an idiot about it y'all would have let him have the seats. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people having to constantly move because someone was in their seats, then they took someone else's seats, and it just becomes a super disruptive unnecessary thing. If seats are assigned, then you sit in whatever seats you bought. Period, the end. He was the one escalating things, and he is the one that ruined his own night, and yours a bit too might I add. Also, anyone that says they're just seats is lying. We all have preferences when we go to movie theaters, sports events, etc. Like, I prefer seats on the end because I hate having to navigate in front of people if I have to go to the bathroom. And most people hate sitting in the first few rows. Not the idiot. You were completely in the right. You paid for and chose those seats. It doesn't matter that there are empty seats. You chose those 2 seats and paid for them. So for the duration of that movie, those were your seats. From the sounds of it, he could have chosen different seats than the ones he picked. Most theaters that require you to choose seating have a map showing exactly where the seats are located. They also show which seats have already been selected. He knew these seats were taken and decided to be an idiot about it.